on the corner where the girls at, bro. Like, this is annoying. Hold up. Oh, you pretty, yo. What's up? You know, I was just trying to say hi.
On this eve of Mother's Day, when I recollect on my early memories of Mother's Day, they all center around church. Church would be full. It would be a celebration of your mother. And the impression that I got when I was a younger kid in church is that it wasn't necessarily an exclusive celebration of mother for birthing you, mother, but mother for making the family go, holding the family together, mother. And I guess in the 80s, where we had more, you know, traditional families, if you will, it was just a day to celebrate family, really. And recently, it's kind of evolved into just a day to celebrate biological or guardian mothers. TGIF. If you're not old enough to remember, TGIF was a pretty big deal. Actually, it was a really big deal. And the common thread in all of the TV shows, of course, they were Disney produced because it's ABC, is that they were all family oriented. They showed different forms of family. And so, of course, Full House was the flagship show, but you have to go back to Mr. Belvedere, which is a great show, still a great show. You have different strokes, a different kind of family, but still a show centered around family. You have Webster with an adopted kid who was living with a football player and his wife who are turned into sportscasters. You have Sidekicks, I mean, come on, man. That 1 year Sidekicks was amazing. And then you have Perfect Strangers, who actually are distant cousins who are dating and trying to adjust to their new life living together in Chicago. And then, of course, you have the spinoff from this show, Family Matters.
Ever since Steve started improving himself, I find myself sort of, kind of, well, you know, attracted to him.
In case you haven't seen Family Matters, quick Cliff Notes. Steve is a geek. Steve loves Laura.
But the truth of the matter is, there's always been a part of me hidden deep in my heart that could only think of Laura.
Laura is cool, but she doesn't love Steve because he's a geeky.
Ever since Steve started improving himself, I find myself attracted to him.
This explains it. Can cause brain damage.
They go back and forth. Steve creates alter ego Stefan. Laura loves Stefan, but she doesn't like Steve. But Myra loves Steve.
So don't blame her. Blame me.
Oh, Steven, it's so like you to be noble.
And the duration of the show is about this love triangle.
You listen to me, Miss Laura. I love Steve Irkel. He's the hot fudge on my sundae.
Where the real Steve, geeky Steve, loves Laura, but Myra loves Steve.
Let me tell you something, honey. Nobody steals my dessert.
Yo, you see those girls over there? I bet you got no game.
Mom got average. Watch this.
Good morning, beautiful doctor.
No, get the fuck away from me.
For the first 2 or 3 seasons, there was no Myra on the show. So it was episode after episode, it was Steve longing after Laura and Laura just not reciprocating. And of course, Steve as the geeky guy, a lot of us could identify with that. And that was basically the mechanics of the show until they introduced Myra, who took an instant liking to Steve as he was. And it left many of us thinking, why is he still so stuck up on Laura? But of course, you have to move the show forward. So those are the mechanics of the show. And so this is a comment that kind of explains the show in a nutshell. Deep down, Laura always had feelings for Steve, but didn't like his persona as a nerd, which is why she fell so hard for him whenever he turned into Stefan, because that's who she wanted Steve to be on a superficial level at first. Now, this is the kicker, this comment here. Sad too, because even Stefan is what Myra sees when he's still Steve. Now think about that comment. Process that comment for a second. She looked at Steve as he was as a geek and saw Stefan in him. He did not have to alter himself. He did not have to learn game and learn how to manipulate and push pull and all those other things. The interesting, scientific, geeky guy that he was absolutely 100% enough for her.
Disrespect from the American women when it comes to the passport bros. You might ask, like, where did this start? Why is this going on? They say that they're dusty. They say they're losers. They're not worth keeping. So why are they speaking out about it? Well, it's because they're projecting. They are upset because they don't feel desired. Men are not approaching women or playing games with women like they used to. They've taken the red pill, they've woken up. And quite honestly, if I was a guy or if I had a son, I would advise him to go overseas.
If you look back at the relationship that Steve had with Myra, in a way, it's just textbook game, if you will. He didn't 100% confess his loyalty to Myra. He kind of kept her on the string. He let her know that he had other options, or at least he was still pursuing Laura. And by the letter of game, he ran game with Myra. You can find someone like Myra if you look hard enough. And I think that's one thing that's really important for passport bros to understand, is that even with the push-pull, the acting like you didn't care and all that other stuff, Myra had to have him. Like, the characters, of course, but she had to have Irkel. And she would stand up against Laura for him. She would follow him around. She would wait on him. All of that as a fictional character, but all of it leads back to the fact that she saw so much value in him that she just couldn't let him go.
You remind me of my mother.
The parable in Family Matters is a pretty straightforward one. Steve likes Laura. Laura doesn't like Steve as he is. And so Steve has to spend a lot of effort and energy into becoming something that he's not in order to please her. Now you can insert game, looks maxing, whatever you want to call it. But that's a lot of effort that he could have spent just becoming a better Steve, because the Steve as he was absolutely adored by Myra. And so if you do enough searching, you will find someone who just adores you just as you are. You might be geeky guy, you might be unathletic guy, but somewhere some young lady is going to look at you and say, I gotta have him. That's my guy. And not only will she want to be with you, but she will value you and the family you create more than anything going on around you or your family outside of you guys. And so that actually brings me back to Mother's Day, because when we go back to Mother's Day, I think of Mother's Day as not just a day to celebrate my mom because she birthed me, but it was a day to celebrate all the things she did to make our family work. Our family was magical. Christmas was great. She cooked on Sundays. She cooked during the week, and we appreciated all of that. And we showed our reciprocation by saying, Mom, today is Mother's Day. Thank you for making our family go. And if you find the right person that's your equivalent of Myra, she's going to do the things that are going to make your family work. Now, that person may not be in the package that you originally thought, but that's humanity. And she might be a little bit taller, she might be a little bit shorter, her hips may not be a certain shape that you might like, but she might look at you and be smitten and be the right person for you to make the perfect family with. That's why it's worth expanding your horizons. And even if you are having trouble dating, instead of worrying about how to get better at talking to women, double down on what you do. Learn a second or third language, get better at your job, expand your income, and then you can take your geeky self somewhere where you can be appreciated. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment below, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care, guys.